Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Here on our channel, we try to give, tips and tricks about different things and try to help people out in the YouTube community. And one of the reasons I do this stuff, I like to pass down information to the next generation, and hoping some of my kids will pick this stuff up later in life and want to try some of this stuff. And I got grandkids now, and when my grandkids get older, I might not be around to give them advice or something like that. So I thought I'd leave some advice behind for the next generation in regards to relationships. So I've been married 3 times, and some of you might say, well, if you've been married 3 times, you must not know much about relationships. You ain't doing something right. Well, I'll tell you right now, going through life, you're going to learn just as much or more from your bad experiences as you do from your good ones. So carry that stuff with you so you know what not to do the next time. And the same applies to work. You'll learn just as much or more from your bad bosses than you did from your good bosses. And someday when you're the boss, you can apply that and make things a lot better for the people around you. But we'll get back to relationships here real quick. I've been married 3 times and had a smattering of relationships in between those and before those. And I'll tell you, the 3rd time's the charm, not to take anything away from the first 2 times, because every time, had its good times. But I'll tell you, don't hold any grudges with people. Grudges are for high school kids, and there's no place for them in adult relationships. Grudges are a barrier to happiness, so let that stuff go. And some people are going to tell you, well, I don't need a spouse. I'm happy single, doing things on my own, and I'm a lot happier. Well, another thing I'll tell you, this day and age, with the way things are going on and the price of things, if you want something out of life, it's going to take 2 people. So throw that mindset away. It's silly. So if you want continued happiness in your life and you're looking for somebody, get outside of your normal needs and desires, what you think a perfect spouse would be. For years, I thought my perfect spouse would be tall, blonde-haired, and big-chested. Well, for 30 years, that hasn't worked out. So I took a chance and went outside the box. My current wife, Kelly, you've seen her, short, brunette, and a little ball of fire. And I love her to death. And like I said, 3rd time's the charm. Couldn't get any better and more in love than I am right now in life. And when you're looking for a future partner, stay away from the bars. Bars aren't a good place to find a good person. You wouldn't go to a junkyard to buy a car, so why are you going to a bar to find a spouse? And don't date anybody from work or date your boss. Reason being, and it's been proven many, many times, when your relationship goes bad, if it does, your work goes bad. And if that's how you're paying your bills, that's bad news. So when you're dating someone finally, nowadays people wondering if they're going to score on their first date. You shouldn't be wondering that. You should be wondering if maybe you get a little kiss after your first date. If you're hooking up with somebody that's putting out on the first date, you need to run for your life. So now you've been dating for a while. Now, it may not be the Christian thing to do, but I highly recommend that you live with somebody before you marry them. And my best guess would be about 2 years, because it takes a while for crazy to come out. Really does. And you don't want to deal with crazy. Life's too short for that. So the next thing, don't make your current partner pay for the sins of your previous partners. You may have been done wrong in the past, but that's not this person's fault. So don't hold them accountable for silly things that have been done to you in the past. And if y'all are going out with somebody and they say one day, hey, we need to talk, you're such a nice person and you're too nice for me, and I'm just going to hurt you in the long run, and I think we should stop seeing each other. Don't get all broke up about that. Politely agree with them and let them go. And you should thank them, because they just saved you from a lot of grief in the future. And relationship tip number, well, I can't remember. I'm not counting. If somebody's always late, they're not going to be there for you when you need them. So they probably need to be kicked to the curb too. And now a word of caution. Eventually, the courting phase of your relationship is going to end. It's inevitable. Just make sure the person that you're with is worth it after the flowers stop coming in. And it's okay to get comfortable in a relationship as long as the mutual respect and admiration is still there. You can be comfortable and still have a good relationship. After all, real people just want to live life drama-free and happy. So if you got people that are bringing extra drama into your life, it's not worth it. Life is dramatic enough as it is. So if you're with somebody that starts every other sentence with the word apparently, don't go there. You need to be putting as much or more into a relationship than you want out of it. Now guys, I realize that you may not be running around with somebody that really wants to wear a French bikini, and you ladies might have to settle for some guy that has a pickup that's the normal height off the ground, but you're going to be a lot happier in the long run. So now you've found the right person, and you think you want to get married and live happily ever after. You can do that, but you got to follow some simple rules, and I'll tell you what they are. I think the most important rule is, gentlemen, you need to give up the need to be right. If you say something and your spouse does not agree with it, don't beat a dead horse. Just let it go. Don't be one of those people that pulls out their phone and gets on Google and searches stuff just to prove your wife or partner wrong. Let it go, dude. It's not that important. As long as you know you're right in your head, that's all that matters. Another important thing is keep your financial independence. And a lot of people think that's silly, but a lot of your domestic issues are going to arrive from money or the lack thereof. So keep your own bank accounts, but you need to split the bills up evenly. Like my wife and I, we have our own bank accounts, but we have a joint savings that we put money into, but we split the bills up fairly. Now, by fairly, I don't mean 50-50, because if one person makes more money than the other, that's not quite fair still. My dog's whining. So what you need to do, let me open the window for her so she'll be quiet. She always wants to look out the window. So what you got to do, add up your total income for the month and figure out who makes what percentage. So say your wife makes 75% of the income and you only make 25. So you figured up your bills every month, and your wife fairly would pay 75% of the bills and you would pay 25% of the bills. So it comes out fairly and equitably. And you don't argue over what happens with each other's disposable income. My wife doesn't care what I buy for me, and I don't care what she buys for her, because all the bills are getting paid and everything's fair, and there's no fights about money. Now, suppose one of you wants to be a stay-at-home spouse, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, it's harder to get the things you want in life if both people aren't working. So, but if you have the ability, say somebody's got a fantastic job and one spouse is able to stay home with the kids, which is great. I wish I could have done that, or my wife could have done that early on. Better for the kids. So if you are, you need to make sure, if you're staying at home, that home is squared away. Because if your spouse is spending 8 to 12 hours at work, you should be spending 8 to 12 hours on that house and making sure things are squared away, and probably making sure dinner's on that table when your spouse gets home. I do. I'm retired. My wife works. I make sure dinner's on the table when she gets home, because she's done enough for our partnership that day, working her butt off at work. So ain't nothing wrong with that. But you need to make sure if you're staying home, that home's squared away. The next thing is don't ask questions that can't be answered. And you're probably wondering what that is. I'll give you an example. Your spouse comes up to you and says, "Why are these socks here?" That's not a question that can be answered correctly. That's an invitation to a fight. So don't mess with questions like that. Just say, "Hey, would you mind putting your socks away or in the hamper," or something like that. And like I said before, don't bring drama. And that goes back to the last point. If you're doing all that stuff, you're just bringing unnecessarily drama into your relationship. Nobody wants drama, and that's a very important point. So I wanted to cover it again, because that's one of my favorite things about Kelly, is she brings absolutely no drama into my life. Another good tip for the guys: if you're at a red light and it turns green and your wife's on her phone, let the guy behind you be the butthole, honk his horn. You don't have to tell her when it's time to go. If you never really truly experienced a good partner, you're really missing out. Because a good partner does stuff for you unasked, just does them to be nice. And a good partner will be doing so much for you that you'll want to reciprocate. My wife is constantly doing stuff not only for me, but for the household. I mean, she works 40 hours a week plus, still comes home and works around the house, helps me do stuff, does all the laundry, puts all the laundry away, cleans the house. I want to do stuff for her because she's doing so much. She's such a hard worker, and it's like I said before, you need to find somebody that's willing to put as much into a relationship or partnership as they're wanting out of it. And it just all comes out in the wash. Now, when you have a disagreement, and you will, I'm not going to sit here and say I've never had a disagreement with my current wife, because we have, but you got to keep it civil. If you keep it civil and don't start all the yelling and all the nonsense, people are going to stay more engaged and be willing to sit there and talk with you through things. And if anything ever gets physical, that's absolutely wrong. Anybody that would lay a hand on another person that they're married to or involved with is a despicable human being, and you need to get away from that person as soon as you can. Jump out at a red light and run for your life. But if you do have an argument, you ladies need to be aware that when a man gets into a disagreement, and I'm talking about a real man that takes care of business, sometimes if it gets hot and heavy, they want to withdraw a little bit, because that's their defense mechanism, is to protect themselves. It's a natural thing. So don't be upset with them if they want to withdraw and walk away and think about things for a while, because that's what men do. And they're going to go think about things, and if you're on the right side of it, they're going to think about it and know that you're right and come back and be agreeable. Now, also, do not be offended if a man tries to defend himself in that argument by trying to explain himself or stuff like that. Men are fixers, so they're going to try to want to fix things. So don't be upset with them for that. Now, if you need a man to get something done or do one of your honeydews, nagging doesn't work. That'll get you further away from the outcome that you want. So you need to do like the other guys do when they talk to each other. You need to shame them into doing it. So like, say one of your friends comes over and you've been wanting a doorknob fixed on your house for quite some time, and your husband hasn't got it done. Your friends come over and say, "Oh, you have such a beautiful home." Say, "Yeah, it'd be even better if I could get the damn front door open." So most men like other people to think that their stuff is squared away. So if you do like other guys do to other guys, shame them into it, they'll get it done. Now, a lot of people try to do things that aren't necessary, and I tell everybody that I talk to, that I try to advise or help, don't try to solve problems you don't have. Don't think about all the what ifs all the time and worry about them. If it ain't a problem, don't worry about it. It don't need fixing. You also want to keep things affectionate. A small touch goes a long way to letting your partner know that you know they're there, and lets them know that you're there for them. But keeping in mind, a back rub is not always an invitation, gentlemen. And if you take it as an invitation all the time, you're going to stop getting back rubs. Now, with that being said, another very important thing is to say what you actually want. Marriage is no place for clues or signals. Say what you want, and you'll probably get what you want. Another good tip for you ladies, if you want to get something done real quick, act like you can't do it and ask your man for help. Men are natural helpers and naturally want to do things for you. So put it that way and you'll probably get it done. And ladies, it's time to let the toilet seat issue go. We raise the toilet seat as a courtesy to you. So if your man is raising the toilet seat and you're all upset because he don't put it back down, that's not exactly fair. He's raising it up for you. Can't you do half the job and put it back down? It's only reasonable. And guys, if she still don't understand that argument, just do this. Have to use the toilet, put them both down. That'll cure it in about a week. If you've been divorced before and you're wondered whether you should get married again, or if you're in a relationship that you probably need to get out of, don't stress about it. It's just stuff. You can get new stuff. You know, they can take away everything but your life. They can't take your life from you, and they can't take your happiness from you without your permission. If you do find yourself in a position where things are no longer working out, you're thinking about getting a divorce, make sure you keep it civil. It might save you a lot of money in the long run, because when divorces get ugly, that's when you get the attorneys involved and everybody's starting to get nasty. It just doesn't pay. Remember what I said about holding grudges? Just get over it. Keep it civil. You both need to still be adults, especially if you have kids. And make sure if you have kids that you're both supporting each other with parental decisions. You can't have somebody holding the line and the other person being the Disneyland parent, allowing them to do everything just to be popular, trying to be the kid's friend. That never works out. And believe me, kids have an uncanny ability to figure out who the responsible parent was in the relationship or the divorce. So don't use your kids to pump information about your ex's new significant other. That's stupid. Don't use your kids as leverage. Be an adult. Be a parent. Pay your child support. Make it a point to see your kids every single day just like you always did before. That's the only adult way to do it. And don't ever stay together for the sake of the children. It's not doing your kids any good to live in a tension-filled household that's just not working. They can sense it, they know it, and it's not easy on them. But make sure you sit down with them as adults. Divorce doesn't have to be so hard on kids. If both parents are acting like adults and you sit down with them and discuss them and make sure they know it's not their fault, that it's just you two are just not getting along and it's creating a bad environment, they'll understand. Make sure that when you're dating, trying to find somebody new, that you're not dragging them people around your kids and bringing them into your house. Do all that stuff when your kids are at your spouse or your ex-spouse's house. Don't get them attached to somebody and then that person not be the right person and you got to make them go away and then your kids are attached to them. Don't do that to them. If you're going to introduce somebody to your kids, make sure that they're going to stick around for a while. So this video is getting a little lengthy and we probably should cut her off. I think I've been on my soapbox long enough. But to wrap it up, we're going to start give you some clues why you still might be single. If you got to read the instructions on a macaroni and cheese box, that may be why you're single. If your pickup is raised higher than your credit score, that may be why you're single. If you kick your dirty clothes across the kitchen to the laundry room to sweep the floor, that may be why you're single. If you set your alarm clock for an hour early before you got to get up so you can hit your snooze button 8 times, that might be why you're single. If you carry a little dog around in your purse, that may be why you're single. If you order chicken nuggets on a date, that may be why you're single. If you become overdrawn at the bank and you blame it on them, you might be single. If you're over 18 and still play video games, that might be why you're single. So those are my opinions in a real big nutshell. Life is too short to be unhappy. We only get one time on this earth, so most people think. So it's never too late to live happily ever after. I got a sign that says that here in my house. So don't be afraid to make the move if it needs to be made. But hopefully, if you follow my advice, you'll be able to stay healthy, happy, and married. So hope you got something out of this. And until next time, we'll see you. Stay safe, stay healthy. Come on back to Mark Kelly Farms. If you liked the video, share it. If you want to see our next video, go ahead and subscribe. Bye.